Welcome, everybody. I'm Jason Hull, the founder and CEO of DoorGrow, the world's leading and most comprehensive coaching and consulting firm for long-term residential property management entrepreneurs. For over a decade and a half, we have brought innovative strategies and optimization to the property management industry. At DoorGrow, we are on a mission to transform property management business owners and their businesses. We want to transform the industry, eliminate the BS, build awareness, change perception, expand the market, and help the best property management entrepreneurs win. Now, let's get into the show. All right, so today's episode, I'm hanging out with Ryan Cadwell, managing partner at Resolute RDM. And we're going to dive deep into how property managers can stop operating reactively and start thinking like true asset managers. So, Ryan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jason, for having us. We're glad to be here.
Awesome. So Ryan's going to break down, this is our notes, right? So Ryan's going to break down the critical difference between market value and investment value and why understanding that gap is the key to building long-term wealth. And he's going to share why so many investors overpay, how to structure smarter deals that actually increase returns, and the leadership habits that drive sustainable business growth. All right. Cool. So let's get into that. So Ryan, I'd love people to get a little bit of background on you, how you got into entrepreneurism and how you got into developing this business and maybe how this connects to property management. And then we'll get into everything.
Sure. Background is we've been in the game for 18 years. Wife and I started it, and we started the overall idea of it in '08. Actually, it was '06 when we were kicking it around, and perfect time to get into all this. '08, right during the financial crisis. Third generation entrepreneur. Both my dad and my grandfather on his side were entrepreneurs. So that's
Yeah.
how I got drawn into that world. Originally was going to be just an investor. But my dad had apartments with another business that he ran, and I grew up around it.
Mhm.
I was cutting grass and I was around tenants that whole time. So when we were in the investment world and wanting to grow that, in the '08 through 2012 market, um, the I started looking for property managers. I did some interviews. Ultimately, property management's come a long way since then. I know
Sure.
it's been a thing for a while, 30 or 40 years, but I think
Yeah.
in the SFR space, it was kind of the Wild West for a while. At least in our market, it was.
Yeah.
And we had
It
done
still
some.
might be. Yeah. In most markets.
um, and so when we had done some interviews with some property managers, it turned out, I think, like, we were like, why don't we just build it? Like, we have enough experience. I grew up doing it, so that's what drew us into the property management world. And then it gradually grew, turned into a few hundred doors. Then we fluctuate. We fluctuate with market times. We're a boutique firm, and we really focus on adding investor value. And then we're adding additional components with um, understanding, market trends, understanding what overpayment is, um, and trying to help investors get ahead of that. So we're not always helping investors that are in a reactive position try to wait out time so that the amount they paid for it can then finally start cash flowing in those kind of positions. We
Mhm.
try to come at it with an eyes wide open. If you buy it here, you're in negative leverage, and what that means and how that's going to translate as far as cash flows. Some investment perspectives, that's what they want. They don't necessarily mind the time.
Yeah.
If they've got cash flow from other things, that might be how they're going to get in. But yeah, that's how we got to where we are in the entrepreneur world, and then in owning and operating a real estate services firm.
Yeah. And you said we,
We
meaning,
so I treat anything we do well is it's a team. It's our four brokers, it's our two managers, it's our contractors, it's all the guys that have helped us get, and it's even some of my other partners on development deals. So there's always a we piece. I'd be remiss if I stood up here and acted like this was
It's
me.
all Ryan. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but this started as like kind of you're in the family business of entrepreneurism, it sounds like. So,
Yeah, and we could talk about that too, how to work with your family,
yeah,
how to work with your
that could be a
family and
challenge.
yeah, how to get ahead of that too, so that you don't damage the relationships and those kinds of things.
Cool. Well, let's chat about this because property managers, they are a lot of times reactive. They're just reacting to everything.
Hmm.
They feel like
It's a
that's their
reactive
job to
business.
react to everything that every tenant calls them, every owner calls them. They're just managing, putting out fires all the time. So how do we start getting to think like true asset managers and get them out of this?
I think the goal really is to be an asset manager, because at that point you're planning decisions ahead of time.
Yeah.
Property management is always going to have a reactive piece to it. You're always going to have emergencies. You're always going to have things that need to be done day of. Um, the real the real answer though to that is a lot of those things don't need to be reactive. They could have
Mm,
been planned. Proper expectations could have been set. Um, Having conversations, like the way you onboard, the way you train, you educate, and how you communicate in the time, the times that they're going to receive statements or anything you get on a repeat basis. It
yeah.
just needs to be kind of be walked through. Now, if you haven't started your clients out in that, I mean, we've learned that the hard way. We've had to
Yeah.
kind of modify some of the things when we onboard. So we've got,
Sure.
we have clients that were raised in our old ways that we've had to kind of push out educational pieces, marketing pieces that are, here's how we operate, here's what we do, and send out reminders, hey, this is when
Yeah.
stuff's happening. So to get proactive, you got to start looking at all the things that you do, all the things that they need, and then start educating them ahead of time. And you educate them ahead of time, knowing that they're not going to read everything, they're not going to pay attention.
Yeah.
Um, and then you just have a gentle
Everybody does that.
reminder. But the and our ops staff is way better at this even than I am. I was way more reactive and figuring it out on the fly, and they were always like, there's no reason this is this stressful. How do we get ahead of this? How do we start educating? Your statements will come out on this day, your payments come out on this day. Here's the way that our system works. If you've got an emergency, here's what to expect. Oh, and by the way, here's what qualifies as an emergency. That's another thing too.
Mm,
But just, no matter what, it's still a people business. It's still, you're
yeah.
still going to have people that aren't going to necessarily follow all of your patterns, and sometimes you got to decide whether or not that means they stay as a client, or you work on that relationship, see if you can't kind of get them in line. Other times you're going to part ways with that client, just because it's going to be better for both of you to do that.
Yeah. So some of the things I'm hearing is like, there's things that could have been planned. So having good planning, setting expectations, having good onboarding, defining what emergencies are, setting boundaries, right?
Yeah,
And if they're not willing to play ball, then firing some clients for
yeah.
sure. Um, cool. So tell me about what's the difference between market value and investment value? And for those listening, I'm doing air quotes. So
Market value and investment value, I think, is the difference in those two terms is where money is made and lost
okay.
every single time. The buyer wants to buy on investment value, and then they want to sell on market value. That gap is truly where a lot of money is can be made.
Oh yeah.
Truly, investment value is different for every investor. You have to know what your opportunity cost is. If you didn't put your money into here, where else, how much more can you make? And then evaluate whether or not this deal works for your portfolio.
Yeah.
Everybody's money is different, everybody's opportunities are different. So if you don't know those numbers, you typically just default to market value, because
Mm,
because appraisers walk in and it's income approach, it's cost approach, and then it's comp approach, right? That's the
Right.
most common three ways that they value it. And then brokers are going to tell you what, if they're selling for the seller's agent, they're going to tell you usually market value. This is what market is. Even, even on the bigger stuff, the multifamily stuff, they're always going to be pushing whatever is going to generate the most value for their client.
Right.
For you, you have to know in your underwriting, what can you financially absorb? One of the biggest things going on right now is if you're getting into the market right